I'm going to go over some potential 2025 college football playoff teams for this year. And we all know that the college football playoff is still at 12 teams. And I'm going to preface this by saying I do not think any 3-loss team, unless they win their conference title game, will get in the 12-team college football playoff. And I know people could argue still about Alabama, but here's the deal. They lost to 2 6-6 teams in Oklahoma pretty handily, and they lost to Vanderbilt. They also did lose to Tennessee, so I don't think they should have been considered in the first place over an SMU. Now, if it was 3 different teams, that might have been a different story, like 3 10-2s or 11-1s. But even then, I don't know about that potentially. So I'm just making that clear right now. Now, the first team I'll say from the independent, of course, is Notre Dame. 11-1 should be good enough. 12-0 is obviously good enough. 10-2 gets a little bit hairy, but 9-3, forget about it. Now I'm going to start with the Big 12. I think Baylor could, if they go 11-1 or 10-2. 10-2. If they lose in a conference title game, then it becomes a little bit interesting. But regardless of the title game, if they're 11-1, I think they should get in. It's kind of the same thing, same logic as Texas Tech on this, to be honest. They're going to drop a game somewhere on the schedule. They're not going undefeated. The Big 12 is just too wide open of a conference to allow undefeated teams to happen. 10-2, I think they could get in, but with the conference title loss, I don't know. 11-1 for sure. Now, I inadvertently forgot to mention the best case, worst case scenarios for Ohio State, but they're one of those teams, in my opinion. 11-1 or 10-2, like at best, and 7-5 at worst. But I'm going to just say, if they go 11-1, they should get in the college football playoff regardless, depending on what the loss is. Kind of same thing for all those other losses. But obviously, if they win the conference title game, yeah, they're in, regardless if they're 10-2 or 11-1. Now, 9-3, if they win the conference title game, that's going to be interesting there, depending on where they're ranked. I do think Arizona State has a shot to go back to the college football playoff this year, given what they return and all this. Obviously, if they somehow go 9-3 and they win the conference title game, I think they still could get in. 11-1, they should be in, regardless of what happens in the title game. 10-2 becomes a little bit hairy if they don't win the conference title game, of course. Now, BYU is up there, but I will say BYU did have 4 one-possession wins last year, so the ball could go the other foot. I really do think 11-1 or 10-2 and win the conference title game, they're definitely in. 9-3 and then win the conference title game. It depends on where they're ranked in all this. So you get the whole point about 11-1 and 10-2 without the conference title game win. That makes it a little bit harder. Now, Kansas State could get there, but they have to go 10-2. But if they lose in the conference title game, I don't think they're going to get in. Kind of same logic for TCU. Just being honest. And for both of those teams, I do not see a way they could go 11-1. Look at those schedules. I mean, it's just telling the truth. Now, from the SEC, I do think Alabama's a potential. But I know that schedule is not easy and all this. They have to go 11-1 or 10-2. They have to. If they have 2 conference losses in the entire game, I think they're definitely safe. Kind of same logic for the Big 12 and Big 10. Maybe ACC. Maybe, but it depends on the other 2 losses. I think Ole Miss could be up there, but they would have to go 10-2, if I'm being honest. Now, Georgia, I think, is up there even if they're just like 10-2, like a 10-2 or 11-1. I mean 11-1. But forget 9-3 is if with 3 conference losses, there's no way they're going to play in the title game. So they're going to just have to be sweating it out. Texas is up there. I do think so. And I know it sounds crazy saying this, but Oklahoma has a shot because look at what they've done with the roster. If everything hits right, they could. But they have to go 10-2. That's the only problem I see. The only problem. Now, Texas A&M, I think they have a shot. But they have to go 10-2 with 2 conference losses. 9-3 makes it a little bit hairy if they don't make the conference title game. Now, South Carolina, I think, is a dangerous team for the SEC this year, but they have to go 10-2 with 2 conference losses, and they nearly took down Alabama a year ago. And I know that is not typical Alabama of the past, but you get the whole point. I do think LSU has a shot, but I know the schedule is not exactly easy. They would have to go 11-1 or 10-2. They would have to. Now from the Big Ten, Michigan, I think, could be up there. I think they'll improve. It's more like, can they get to 10-2 improve? 11-1 might be the best case scenario, but how likely is that? So I'm just saying there. And obviously Ohio State, Penn State. I think Penn State might be the best team in the Big Ten this year. I know they have until they prove the wide receivers, I know, but Ohio State should be back in the college football playoff. They should be. Both of them to me are like 12-0 or 11-1 at best. At worst, 9-3. Though 9-3, they'll have to be sweating it out. Now, Indiana could technically get back, but I do not expect them to be 11-1 like a year ago. 10-2 is the only way they're going to get there. Now, kind of same logic as Iowa, they would have to go 10-2 with 2 conference losses. Now, Illinois, I think they have a shot because look at that schedule. It's gettable, but I know what they did last year in terms of last-minute wins. So the ball could go the other way. They have to go 11-1 or 10-2. 9-3, they would have to be sweating it out. Now, I think Oregon could get back to the college football playoff. It's not like they don't have a proven quarterback they don't have a proven quarterback for this year and like a year ago. It's not that. They don't. They do actually with Dante Moore. Yeah, I think they have to go like 11-1 or 10-2 or undefeated. Yeah, they're definitely on. Now USC has that potential, but they have to go 10-2. I do not see 11-1 for them. Same logic for Nebraska. Just being honest. Now from the ACC, I think Clemson should be back in a college football playoff, and I think their ceiling is higher for this year than last year. I think so, because I just don't see a way. They could still go undefeated and still get in a college football playoff regardless, or even 11-1 and get in. Now 10-2, it depends on the 2 losses, and if they do miss the conference title game, then that's sweating it out a bit. Now SMU has a shot to get back, but they would have to go 11-1 or 10-2. And they have a tough. They have to play TCU out of the non-con. They have to play Baylor out of the non-con. It's not even mentioning Clemson on the list. So, in terms of the conference, you know the schedules for all these teams if you want to look it up. But you get the point. I think Louisville has a shot if they could go 10-2. They do. So that's really all the ACC teams I technically see. Now, I'm just going to go like the Mountain West. There's only like a few teams, and the best bet I would say out of the Mountain West is Boise State and UNLV. UNLV would have to go 9-3 and win the conference title game. Boise State, I think they have a shot to go 11-1 again, but they would still have to win their conference title game. Of course, or even 10-2 and win their conference title game to be the highest ranked. Now, I think, I know it's an outside shot. Air Force, I think they're going to be better this year. It's more like how much better. And the only way they're going to get in, obviously, is win the conference title game. Now, I think Fresno State could be a potential. But they would have to go 9-3 and win the conference title game, which that's the only way they're going to get in. That's if they get to the conference title game, like I said. Now, from the American, I think UTSA could, but I know they lost a few guys to the transfer portal. I know. I think UTSA, Tulane. I think Memphis could, but it depends all about rankings around them. And they do host a Power 4 opponent in Arkansas. And I know Arkansas is now like some college football playoff team, but just imagine if they win that game and then win the American. Maybe they could get in. I think North Texas is a sneaky team that they could, but they would have to win the conference title game. The only other question I have about North Texas is the defense. Of course. I'm not really sure about Army and Navy and all this. I'm not really sure. You could throw them in the mix if you want, but how likely is that going to happen? I think Navy is more likely than Army, to be honest. I think so. But that's just saying there. And now I'm just going to go like some potential Sun Belt teams. But that's the only way for the Sun Belt. And I do not like in the Conference USA and the MAC as in the Mid-American Conference. They would have to have so much chaos in order to think about a possibility of making the 12-team college football playoff as that conference champion out of the conference champion in all this. That's what I'm just going to go ahead and say right now. Now, from the Sun Belt, I think James Madison, Coastal Carolina, Louisiana, Texas State, and Arkansas State are possibilities. And I'm going to just preface this by saying I do not see any Conference USA teams making it a 12-team college football playoff as an at-large. I mean, not only as an at-large, but as a conference champion. I just don't see it, and that's why I did not list any of them. Now, for the MAC, it's only like really 3 teams: Toledo, Miami, Ohio, and Ohio. But like I said, it would take a lot of chaos for the Sun Belt, the Conference USA, and the MAC to think about having a conference champion in a 12-team college football playoff. I'm just being honest. So I think it's more likely that the Mountain West and the American will get that spot. I would think so. And now the question is, will the Big 12 have more than one this year? I definitely think if both teams go 11-1, both should get in. Or even like a 10-2 versus 11-1, and a 10-2 wins the game. I think they should get in. Both should get in. Now, 10-2 versus 10-2, probably just one of those in the title game, and maybe the other 10-2 that's not even in a conference title game, maybe they get in. But now the ACC, yeah, I don't see a lot of possibilities for them. Like I said, I mean, Clemson, SMU, and Louisville. And really, to me, Clemson is more like the more of the lock if they go 11-1. It's not that I don't believe in SMU. I don't. It's not that I don't. I just think the schedule is tougher for them to think about college football playoff unless they win the unless they win a conference title game in the ACC. If they get there with just 2 losses, like 1 out of the non-con and 1 in the conference, with being in Clemson. That's what I really think. So we're going to have to wait and see what happens. And I know their teams could still technically add from the transfer portal. And it's so far in advance here, I know, but I thought to get this out of the way right now. So anyways, if you like this content, hit the like and subscribe button. See you guys later on the road to 800 subscribers. Of course, ultimate goal is 1,000 or more. So my money. This course like video, comment video really helps YouTube background. Some more people see it. Sharing the video does help as well. Some more people could watch. And if you're watching and that's subscribe, hit subscribe buttons for the notification bell as well. And for all we know, they could expand it and it like a year from now. We'll see about that. From 12 teams to 6 teams, supposedly. We'll see. Or even 14.